Hello and welcome to this Junior's Gasoline Alley, where today we're going to be replacing the rear brake pads on this 2020 GMC Sierra 1500. This process is pretty easy and straightforward, but we're going to be replacing the brake pads as well as the wear sensor, resetting the computer so that it knows it's got a new set of pads. And I'm going to show you how to do this, starting by jacking up the vehicle, making sure that we get it on jack stands and that it's nice, safe, and secure, ready to be worked on. And then, of course, we're going to turn to the inside where we've got to plug in our OBD2 scanner so that way we can set the brakes into service position. Because this truck uses electronic rear parking brakes, you do need to retract the parking brake before you replace the brake pads, as you can't wind it back in with a traditional brake tool. You do need to put it into retracted mode, and then we're just going to go ahead, take off all of our lug nuts, get that prepared, and pull the rear wheel off so that we can turn our attention to the caliper. Now from here, we'll start with getting the caliper off of its carrier, which requires it's a 14 millimeter. So unplug the parking brake wire, and we have that fully retracted as it is. And so then with our ratchet mechanism, see if we can get these broken loose. So that's loose. Got the other one down here. Let's get those loosened up. That's going to come right out. Just out, just like that. Now we should be able to rock our caliper off. Brake caliper undid. You see this piston right there? While we retracted the electronic parking brake, we do still need to spin in the caliper piston because you need to compress that back into place. And so to do so, we've got this brake piston kit, which is going to allow us to slide that back into place. So we'll slide this guy together, and then find one of these that's going to be properly sized. And then that's going to slide into place, which will then allow us, and then you get that lined up, and that's what's going to then allow us to thread the piston back into the caliper. So bear with me a second. And once everything is lined up and snugged up, you can begin putting pressure on the piston to thread it back in. Remember, you got to make sure that your e-brake is released, otherwise you're going to do damage inside of the caliper. But just a gentle screw, making sure that you've pressed that piston back into place. It will retract, and it'll allow you to have space for your new pads. We've got our piston pushed back into place. Now we can turn our attention to the brake caliper, or the brake pads, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this caliper out of the way so it's not going to accidentally move on us. But here we've got our old brake pads. So the outside one, plenty of meat on it. The inside one, for some reason, does not. And you'll notice, because of that, the brake sensor that got cracked off, and that told the truck that it was time for new brakes. So nice that you have that system. And so I decided to go with the Bosch Quiet Cast. This is a premium brake pad, but the beautiful thing about that particular brake pad is it is a ceramic setup, and it will also be able to run with our with the factory style brake pad wear indicator. So this guy is just going to slide in on the inside, and it's going to be a good idea to replace the hardware that comes with this. With a little bit of finessing, this puppy can come off. So your brake pads will come with new hardware. So go ahead and slide that over. So you see, you're going to put them on in the same kind of direction that we had before. So it's just going to slide right on like that. Definitely don't be scared to get a set of pliers and make sure it gets set properly. Okay, you just said so. That's gonna slide on just like so. Perfect. Then I've got two more on the inside. And the inside hardware is just a rinse and repeat. Same process, pop the old ones off, snap the new ones on, and it's time to turn to the brake pads. Slide the outside caliper or pad on first. Get these ones seated. Then the inside pad needs to get seated as well, just like so. Boom, you're on. Now, after we put the caliper back on, we'll go ahead and slide in our brake sensor wire. And before putting the caliper back on, we do want to put just a touch of blue Loctite on the caliper carrier bolts. So I'll take this, slide that on, and basically we can take our caliper, try to duck the electric parking brake out of the way. Just like so. And on our rear caliper will go. So there we go. And now, with that blue Loctite on, let's go ahead and get these begun to thread in. Perfect. Here we go. Let's work that up in a second. All right. There we go. Now inside of there, We can then take our new brake sensor wire, slide right into place, just like so. And actually, I should have shown you while it was out, but it's got sort of a thick portion to it, and what that thicker portion, if you can see it there, as that wears down, that changes the value that's being seen on the rear brakes, so you can tell when the rear brakes are starting to get worn down. Moving on from that, you gotta slide. This, of course, is the bleeder screw cap, which doubles as the holder for the wire. How about that, right? Pretty cool. So, get that clipped in. Bleeder cap back on. Now we can move back into the electronics. First, I'll start with our electronic parking brake wire. That's going to slide right back into place where it was. Make sure to slide that connector back on. And then here, I'll take off the old one. So you can see the old one got broken, and that's how we knew it was time for brakes. There we go. That guy's out. And a new one slides right back into place. All right. Just like that, that rear brake pads and our lead wire are all set up. And of course, the next step is to put the wheel back on, torque it down, and move on to the other axle. Once you're done moving on to the other axle, then it's time to jump back into the truck and get it completed on the scan tool. And then once you're done, you can reactivate the parking brake by hitting the deactivate rear parking brake service position. And it's going to read that through. Yeah. And then hit extend parking brake. So it's giving us info on the screen. Procedure complete. Parking brake reset. And now, other thing I want to do is rear axle, brake caliper, rear axle brake pad life monitoring. I want to reset that. We're clear. Let's go ahead and start the vehicle. And let's test our parking brake. So I'm going to turn that on. Parking brake set. Step on brake to release. We are good to go. You have now completed replacing the rear brake pads.